This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff, with all of the homies having returned.
All the homies.
They are. We're all back
From what,
wherever
Alex?
we were. From wherever we were on a trip. And by
And
we,
our famous rocket ship
Oh, I knew someone was going to sing it.
going through the sky.
Sky, little Einsteins.
all I said was we were on a trip. I don't know where they took it.
Okay.
We're going on a mission. Start your engines up. Okay, I'll stop.
This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff, and today is Monday, April 24th. For new listeners, I am your host, Muff, alongside Jim, the Ohio Degenerate, the Ohio Homer,
And Seattle Kraken fan.
and solely Seattle Kraken fan. Jim has
Solely.
no other allegiances
No.
in the NHL anymore.
Nope. I've declared it. It's official.
Also with us is the medical degenerate, the degenerate of all things medicinal, Alex.
That's me.
We gotta get you a new hat.
Me?
Yeah, that's looking pretty haggard.
This one? This is actually kind of a new hat.
Oh, just designed that way. All right.
I think I think it's the fuzzy lighting.
Gotcha.
Get better lighting, Alex. Whatever. For those that are not watching on YouTube, this is fantastic listening. And finally, we have the guru of officiating, the man behind the line of scrimmage, the man behind the plate, and the man dodging baseballs this way and that way, Nate.
You're out of here.
And all, as usual, joining Nate is, I don't know, the same as the guru of all things decorating, especially Christmas, Sam.
I'm here. Hello.
We really do have the whole gang.
The gang's all here.
SpongeBob episode.
Oh, here.
And this is a major announcement in podcast, in the podcast history, as well as in potentially baseball history at this point. Pittsburgh Pirates are in first place the NL Central, the number one team in the National League, with a record of 16-7.
No.
Yes!
Praise the Jolly Roger.
Take a screenshot of all the standings pages you can find anywhere. Toss it out on social media so we will not forget this day. Monday, April 24th.
Yesterday, when it was a 6-game win streak, that was the longest win streak since 2018. I'm not sure if we went back another 10 years because we won another game today or what.
I don't know. But the Pirates have won 7 straight, sweeping a series against the Rockies, and over this past weekend, the Reds outscoring these opponents 45-20 over the 7-game stretch.
So my question is, because you guys do it to me here in Columbus, what is the vibe in the Ohio Valley, and I guess pseudo Pittsburgh, if you want, with the Pirates being good? Is it just like, yeah, they'll botch this, or is it like, hey, we have a chance?
Uh,
I think it's a mix of both.
yeah, it's definitely a mix of both. My dad's neighbor keeps reminding us that the All-Star break usually is the make or break point, so we probably shouldn't put overly too much stock in it, but we're gonna roll with it.
We are going to roll with it. I agree with Nate that there's a mixture of both going on. I think in this area, there is a mentality, as Jim says about, Ohio State, is the sky is falling because you're just waiting for the bottom to fall out. The only difference is that Ohio State football has been, largely competitive over the past couple decades, whereas Pirates baseball has not been.
So we'll just take what we can get, basically.
A lot of trepidation, we will
This
say.
is how I knew that it was a big deal. And it's not Alex texting us, or it's not, the updates from Muff. You know how you follow those people on Instagram who think that they're social media icons or influencers, if you will?
Yeah.
Some of those females on the Instagram were highlighting the fact that they were in Pittsburgh and the Pirates were doing well, and it became cool and trendy, these influencers
To be in Pittsburgh.
to be in Pittsburgh at a Pirates game. Like, oh, look at us, we're doing so well, and raise the Jolly Roger. It was like,
Raise the Jolly Roger.
that doesn't fit on you, man.
you have to have been through thick and thin to actually
Yeah.
capitalize on this influencer opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. You have to go like 2, 3, 4 years back and see you at a Pirates game in a Pirates jersey.
Which brings me to my next question. Like, knock on wood, cross your fingers, all your superstitions aside. If you happen to run the tables, let's just say, first step, you make a playoff run. Do you allow those posers into your fandom?
You mean the bandwagon jumpers are always there.
It depends. Are they going to spend money and give the I would say give the organization more money, but we know the Nunnies will probably end up blowing it, so maybe not even that.
The things don't blow the money, Alex. They just don't spend it where we would like to see them spend it.
AK blowing it, in my opinion.
Hey, you got a giant TV. I don't know what you're bitching about.
Or on their newspaper.
Say it again, Sam.
They're not spending it on the team or on the employees at the newspaper. They're spending it on stupid shit.
All right. There it is.
Like Seven Springs.
Although the scoreboard is pretty cool, I've heard.
So
Wow.
do you allow them to be at your fandom? Like, do you hit the like button on these influencers that are at that point rocking the pirate gear?
Yeah, why not? There's room on the boat for everyone.
Okay.
There's room.
I'll just know who the true fans were.
That's right. You know who the diehards are.
Exactly.
In addition to the reactions, right? A lot of reactions we got just about the magic. This is magic right now going on in Pittsburgh. We don't know what this looks like this early in the season ever. Next, there's another feel-good story that is appropriately timed to go along with this run as the Pirates called up 33-year-old Drew Maggi to the big league roster. He has played in over 1,000 games in the minors, and this is his first chance with a big league team. It's pretty cool. They blew it up all in their social media today, Sunday, in the Pirates organization. This is a pretty cool moment.
Yeah.
And lastly, to top it off, the Pirates have extended manager Derek Shelton past this year. The details have not been shared yet, but the organization must really like what they're seeing at this point to extend him this early on.
I mean, I don't think he's done anything dramatically to not be extended either.
That's true, right? You stay with the one you know, the devil you know, not the devil you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the guys seem to like him. I don't remember who. I want to say it was Keith Ryan Hayes they were interviewing, maybe. And they asked kind of about Shelton. They're like, what do you think he's done? You know, how do you think he's done? And he was like, I mean, kind of like basically we're winning. And he said that he gives them enough freedom to kind of like be themselves, but has enough like guidelines of where they should be. And they seem to gel well and like enjoy each other's presence as a team. And it reminds me a little bit of the year when they had like the Zoltan, you know what I mean? Like there's that like, hey, we are supposed to suck, so let's just ride this out and try to do our best.
There it is. So that's enough Pirates talk. We don't want to get too deep into this because inevitably we will do this, and then next week we'll come back and we'll have a totally different story.
Exactly.
So let's jump into other topics real quick. The NFL draft starts Thursday. There still seems to be indecision about who is going number 1 and what will happen with the number 2 and number 3 picks. How many running backs are going to go in round 1? Are wide receivers a weak position group this year? And what moves will happen prior to or during the draft? More to
Or
come.
how
about the
bad they
draft.
submarine CJ Stroud before he even gets there.
You know, sorry that he didn't do well on the whatever this new test is.
According to a guy from Tampa Bay.
Whatever this new test is, Jim. That's the only
Yeah.
thing that I've negatively heard about him thus far. Well,
Brady
I guess-
Quinn came out and started trashing him.
Well, it is what it is, buddy.
I didn't know he was the aficionado quarterbacks, but whatever.
I mean,
Are you worried about Brady's opinion given his career in the NFL?
I think a lot of people are throwing a lot of haterade on CJ Stroud.
maybe there are people that want to see him go number 2, Jim, because they like that team better.
Or 4.
If he drops to 4, I think there's bigger issues at hand. DeMar Hamlin has been cleared to resume football activities.
Good for him.
This is great news, right?
I had a feeling it would, because I mean, if they truly ruled it to be that commotio cordis, there's really nothing that he did or has that like it was just a terrible freak accident.
So positive news there. Jalen Hurts got a deal, a record deal. More to come. Players got suspended.
Yeah,
A lot of
I can't wait to
fun
dive into that.
players get suspended related to gambling. So more to come on that throughout this episode. NBA drama has been front and center this past week with suspensions, stomps, and trash talk.
Ball tags.
There was a ball tag on Saturday night. And in hockey, this will be our hockey update. Let's start with Jets center Morgan Barron was sliced across his face with a skate in playoff action last week. He goes off the ice to get 75, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 50, 75, only to return to the ice for the second period, and then he played the rest of the way.
This
Like
even
a
made
boss.
me that even made me a little queasy, and I don't really get queasy at that kind of stuff.
It was insane.
And this is why we continue to say hockey players are just built different.
They are built different. It's nuts.
I mean, he's lucky he didn't get an eyeball cut out of his head.
Yeah.
That was in fact one of the first things he was trying to collect himself on is, can I see? Right? Because
Yeah.
he knew that
Yeah.
something had happened and he's like, am I still able to see? So that's outrageous. That's nuts. And as Nate said, this just goes to show, like, we've got how many injuries in other sports happening where, we've got players sitting out a game in the playoffs because it's a relatively minor injury, but something that could impact their play.
Yeah.
And we've got this guy says, stitch me up. Give me back out there.
And that wasn't like, I saw some crazy. I've been watching the Kraken games, all 3 Kraken games. I've seen guys take like pucks to the dome at 90. And I'm not talking the goalie. I'm talking about a defender getting in the middle of it, taking it to the dome, like in the chin. It busts their face open. They're just like, that sucks. I'm going to go to the bench for a hot second, collect myself, and then I'm going to come back out and hit somebody.
That's part of the thing that I've noticed, especially between regular season and postseason play, is just how many more guys are willing to block shots.
Yeah.
And you see them too. Like they always talk about guys taking shots in the ankles because there's no ankle guard. Like they have a shin guard or whatever, but like right there, like on the corner of their ankle where it sticks out and they're right above the skate. Guys take it right there all the time. And you see them like gimping back to the bench and everything. It's like, you guys are nuts. I'm not putting my body out there. You'd have to give me like a steel cup, probably 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I took a pitch off that part of my ankle, and a pitch in like JV summer league, not a hockey puck by an NHL star, and I was out for like a week. Like it was so swollen, my ankle would not move. Like had to go back for more X-rays because it was so swollen. They couldn't do them the first time. Like a pitch. Could you imagine how bad it would have hurt if it was a freaking hockey puck?
Ugh.
Woo!
Built different.
Makes me queasy every time it happens.
Built different is right. In other hockey news, Jim, give us a Seattle Kraken update.
Kraken are down 2-1. Won that first game in Colorado. Lost the second game by the Colorado came back. They were up like 3-0 at one point. Kraken were, and then Colorado just marched back on them. Came to Seattle last night, and again, Seattle was up 2-0, and then Colorado marched on them again, went up 3-2, something like that. But no, it was 3-1. I'm sorry. The Kraken at the end of the second had 2 goals in a minute 19. And it was like, oh, the Kraken are like going to come back and win their first home playoff game. The start of the third period, Colorado came out and scored 2 goals, just boom, boom. And then I was like, I'm going to bed. And I missed the last goal. They won 6-3. The Kraken are really good at 5-on-5. They can't score a power play goal to save their damn lives. They can't even sometimes get a shot on the net for the majority of the game. They're really fun to watch. Both teams are really fun to watch. The guy McKinnon for Colorado, Nathan McKinnon, will be the highest paid hockey player next year. and is a bad man. He takes like three strides with the skates, and he's on the other end of the ice. And he's like skating the Seattle hockey players out of their skates. Like literally, it's like LeBron juice. Like they're falling over. So it's an uphill battle for Seattle.
I think the big takeaway from me on this, Jim, is that you have stayed up to watch these games.
Brother, they're fun. They are a blast. I want to call him McGruber. I think that's his name for the goalie for Seattle is just amazing. I'm a full-blown Seattle fan. And then the crowd for Seattle is for an expansion team to be that bought in, the crowd to be that bought in. It was nuts. They were so loud.
So Seattle fans, I think across all sports, have a presence, right?
Yeah.
In the arena, on the field. Even you hear about the Seattle Sounders in the MLS that they have like the best fans.
I apologize. It's not McGruber. That's a movie. It's Grubauer.
Well, Jim,
I
we're not
apologize.
a hockey show. You're just
Yeah.
you're just a hockey fan. So
He's
But-
been a group dude, Jim.
Yeah. And then one of their star players couldn't be in the lineup last night because his wife was giving birth.
Huh.
The only time a hockey player will miss something is if his wife's giving birth.
oh, that's it. That's the only time right
Yeah.
there.
Wasn't a player like a few months ago that like left his wife at the hospital to go play a game?
No, he left the game like
Or
right
left the-
after
Yeah.
to go because his wife was having a baby. I don't remember which game that was, but I remember him like vividly. He got the phone call. He was like, "I gotta go," and he's like leaving.
He was
his
like
pads.
running.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a general update in the NHL playoffs. The Golden Knights are up 2-1 over the Jets. The Leafs are up 2-1 over the Lightning. The Devils
Hold
are
on.
up.
Pause right there. If I don't care if you're a hockey, if you have a team or not, Penguins, Seattle Kraken, you need to watch a game in the Leafs Lightning series. That's the game that's before the Kraken, so you could just be up and watch it. Okay, it is the most physical hockey I've ever seen in my life. They are fighting for funsies. I'm not sure hockey's being played. It is insane. Please watch a game in that series. All three of you. Watch like 5 minutes of it.
Go Bolts. That's all I'm going to say there.
I don't care. Just swing it out.
Yep. The Avalanche obviously are up 2-1 over the Kraken. The Canes are up 3-1 on the Islanders. The Bruins are up 3-1 on the Panthers. The Wild are up 2-1. There's a game happening right now. Does anybody have a live look in on a score?
No,
Yeah,
I didn't even-
Minnesota just scored and they're down 2-1.
Stars up 2-1.
Yep, 2-1 about halfway through halfway through the third period.
All right. And lastly, the Kings are up 2-1 over the Oilers with a game happening Sunday night after we're probably done recording.
Yeah.
While we're sleeping.
Yep.
That's another series that I'm intrigued in. I like watching Connor McDavid and that Leon Draisaitl play together.
Yeah.
Another real quick item from former NHL player Zdeno Chara. He ran the Boston Marathon last week in 3 hours and 38 minutes, averaging an 8-minute mile. Let's not forget that Chara is 46 years old, 6'9", weighs 256 pounds, and was the enforcer of enforcers during his time in the National Hockey League. This just goes to show, like, a hockey dude being a hockey dude at 46. I don't know, it just seemed weird. It just seemed odd to me. I did not expect Zdeno Chara to be running a marathon.
No, I didn't either. It's like he stood out like a giraffe on the ice for as big as he was. Imagine seeing him running down the street.
Right. And lastly, before we get into some NFL news, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, continues to make watching the Colorado Buffaloes worthwhile, having a huge showing of fans for this year's spring game. They had a guest kicker, an older lady. I don't know the story behind it, but it was pretty fun to watch.
Her sister and her were big avid fans of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Her twin sister died 2 years ago. Prime was introduced to her when he came into town, and like she gave him the rundown on the history of Colorado football. He was like, "Listen, we're gonna do it. Do it for you. I want you to come to the spring game. We're gonna sell at the spring game." I mean, really a big sweet story before all this, and then he brings her to the game in true prime fashion and let her kick a ball.
Yeah, wasn't she like 98 years old or something?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
I actually watched a little bit of a 30 for 30 with Prime. Did you see that? The double, what was it? Double play when he was playing baseball and
I've seen
football
that,
at the same
yeah.
time. And they had him in that giant garage. And he acts kind of prime-ish.
Yeah.
And they also announced that they've sold out season tickets for the first time since 1996.
Yeah. It's impressive.
It is impressive. And something that I saw this week and I thought additionally impressive is 2 of the top 10 highest NIL earners are with the Colorado Buffaloes, Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders.
Yeah.
We're on the list with the likes of Arch Manning, Bronny James, Livy Dunn, and Caleb Williams.
Huh. Arch Manning's not very good at football right now, so that's funny.
He's Manning.
You're saying he's not good at football because...
I mean, right now is what I said. Quote me correctly. Not good right now. He will be the backup. He's Quinn Ewers of Ohio State, but now Texas.
I don't think he's going anywhere right away, though.
We'll see. In other news, before you jump into the NFL, anybody see Ryan Reynolds and his soccer team, the Wrexham
Field Club?
The one that they like all own, famous people own.
They've leveled up.
Yes.
For the first time in like 20, 25 years.
Yes, and it is a hell of a story. There's a whole I think there's a Netflix series on it. But the way the town gets behind them and the cheers about Deadpool and coming to save their town, it's hilarious. So watch some TikToks on it if you will. Watch the Netflix series.
The official source of information.
You wouldn't even let me finish. I said TikToks and Netflix.
That was just literally
coming at me with my TikTok.
That wasn't really coming at you. It was kind of just a joke.
Well, at least this time, Jim, you had a relevant and timely TikTok that led you to this.
Yeah, not some of the old school baseball ones.
Unlike other times where you get caught up and you send stuff to us and you say,
That
this is really cool.
10 years ago.
And Nate's usually the first one to call you out, which I think is hilarious.
It's always baseball, too. Get off me. All right.
I just think it's funny. Real quick, Sam,
Yes.
are you in this Livy Dunn from LSU sphere at all? And her NIL
I have
stuff?
no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Nobody does, Muff.
Okay. She's a gymnast from LSU. She's, I think, one of the top 3 NIL earners.
Well,
She doesn't even know what NIL stands for.
Next in line.
Oh, yep. Exactly.
She's not wrong, just not in the right context. Okay, let's jump into NFL news. Jalen Hurts becomes the highest paid per season player in NFL history, signing a 5-year, $255 million extension with the Philadelphia Eagles. But there are still other QBs sitting there waiting to see what will happen. First, do we feel that Jalen Hurts is deserving of this record deal?
I don't know.
I think he's deserving of a good deal.
Yeah, I don't know.
Record deal pushed it for me a little bit, but a deal. He deserved a deal.
Now he's got to play up to that standard. I mean, they really had like 1 year where they go on to the Super Bowl. So now it's like, all right, you've done it this year. I think they probably could have waited and done it maybe next year if he had the same kind of caliber of year. So to me, this seems like a very risky deal.
And I think that was part of Baltimore's ownership was like, listen, this market's getting out of hand, Lamar. And Jalen kind of proves it. Like, a lot of big money's going out there for people that I don't know if their stock has been proven all the way.
Sometimes you got to risk it to get the biscuit, though, I guess.
Yeah, you ain't wrong.
Speaking of hockey references, there we go. As was referenced, Lamar Jackson's still waiting to see if he's going to get another deal to consider or any other options. So
I would have a hard time as a teammate if he's like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. And then they're like, well, you paid me enough. Yeah, I'll stay. Would you have a hard time like as his teammate being like, do you even want to be here?
No.
Do you not care?
It's a business.
Yeah, I think they all view this as a business, and if you can
I
get
think-
paid, get paid.
I think because I've never been a professional athlete, I always have a hard time viewing things as a business. Like I always mentally go to like, yeah, I'd be freaking offended if someone's like, yeah, that's not enough money to want to be on these Chabooks team.
I mean, if this goes on later in the summer, then yeah, I could see guys getting like that. So listen, it's like you either want to beat her or you don't.
Lamar Jackson, could be salivating with all of this, right? He goes through this year, and maybe he gets a huge deal if he plays well this year with the Ravens
true.
under the franchise tag.
It's like, yeah, he does well in the regular season, but like, what have you done in the postseason? You didn't make it through the year last year. It's like you look at these other guys that are getting the deals, they're going on, they're having success in the playoffs. What are you doing, Lamar? Sitting on your ass.
Okay, but let me just spin this back at you for a hot second. Who would you pay money to, big time money to, gun to your head? Lamar or Jalen?
Jalen.
Yeah, after last year, neither.
I think this, for me, comes down
option.
to the team situation, right? Like Lamar Jackson, if you're going to be paying him that money, then what are you going to put around him to make this happen better? Like his best target is Mark Andrews. So if you're paying Lamar Jackson that kind of money, you're saying, well, we're not going to really be able to really bring in a whole lot of other big name talents and weapons for you. Your tight end's still really good, though. With the Eagles, it seems like they build around the running game. They lost Miles Sanders this offseason, but they seem to make it work, right? They brought in A.J. Brown, and now it comes down to, okay, now this deal's in place. What do those weapons at the receiver and other skill positions look like for them? And does this impact their defense negatively over time?
Yeah.
So I think it's a team dynamic that's tough to figure out. Patrick Mahomes has still been able to figure it out with the Chiefs.
Can't the same argument be made on both sides? Like the same argument you just made could be made for the Ravens. The Eagles and the Ravens were in the same spot.
When?
If Lamar's healthy,
no, they're not in the same spot because the Eagles were on a deep playoff run last year. The Ravens have not done that yet, really, under Lamar Jackson's tenure, right?
okay.
Then that comes back to what Alex and Nate are saying is we're rewarding this quarterback because he's helped guide us into a deep playoff run.
Well, I think we all thought that Jalen he was not the reason they got there.
He didn't hurt them, though.
No, yeah.
Okay.
He was a big piece of the
They
puzzle.
look like without him.
Right, this is the Carson Wentz, Nick Foles argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the puzzle, but he was a big piece of it.
Yeah. It's good.
For me, the jury's still out on Jalen Hurts. That's all.
Oh, the jury will be out on him throughout this contract.
Yeah.
So if they don't continuously make the playoffs and make another at least one deep run, maybe to a Super Bowl, then what are we thinking about here? Aaron Rodgers' future is still not solidified, which may be handled before the end of this upcoming week.
But if you're him right now, how do you feel about like the Jets not willing to just readily give up a first round pick?
He's not young.
That's not what I asked. I understand from an office
standpoint. Aaron gets it now. When you kind of saw it on his last interview with McAfee, he knows it's like, look, the Packers want to go a different direction. This is a business. I know the Jets aren't going to give up the kitchen sink for me. So, I mean, I think Aaron's just kind of sitting there waiting. He knows he's going to be playing in New York. It's just a matter of getting the business side done.
So you think his ego is not hurt by this?
No. I mean, at first I think it was. He's thinking, oh, well, you want to be done with me, whatever. But at the same time, he's like, look, I get it. But they did the same thing with Brett Favre. That's just what Green Bay does. And I think, again, he gets it because, like he said, he was, 90% committed to retirement before he went into that darkness retreat.
Right, and the Jets organizations come out and said that was an influencing factor in how they handled these negotiations because they don't know what this looks like past this upcoming year. Is he going to retire?
Mm-hmm. Do you think that he had butt rocks in while he was in the darkness?
I don't know, Alex. Is that something?
Jim, please reference it. Please find a fake tweet that I can run with.
I will. I will find you a fake tweet.
He accidentally sat on a stalactite and was like, well, that's not the right one.
Was it one?
Oh.
One?
One.
Players that have additional bargaining power in the upcoming years with Jalen Hurts' new deal could include Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa. They were all in the same draft class. So Joe Burrow, obviously, this gives him a lot of bargaining power.
But he's got to do something. They are.
It's in Cincinnati too.
If they win a Super Bowl, Joe Burrow has all the bargaining power in the world.
Yeah. But it's Cincinnati, who notoriously just doesn't give a shit.
Hey, they have an indoor practice facility now.
Yeah, and that's what they'll say. Hey, we got you a facility. I don't know what more you want.
Paid?
Tua mentioned that he considered retirement last season while recovering from his concussions.
Fair.
I feel like that's shouldn't have been breaking news, but people were definitely
considered it. He should still be considering it.
Here we are.
That boy's brain. Whatever.
One bad shot this year, and he really does got a serious.
Absolutely.
Here we are. In other news, the Steelers traded with the Rams for wide receiver Allen Robinson. The Rams will be paying $10.25 million of his guaranteed $15 million this season, while the teams swap 7th-round draft picks. The Steelers are getting a good deal on this ?
I like it, actually, to be honest. I think we can use a solid receiver. I think we can use a solid receiver that doesn't have that young, like, dropsies potential. Someone that, I don't know, I think he's going to be solid. I think he's going to come in and be a good locker room guy, too.
Oh, yeah. Rooney's will love him.
Why can we talk about every team except the Steelers, Jim?
Why do we just take that approach with every Steeler? Like, why is it he'll be a great locker room addition? And
because you have to have leadership.
The Pirates, Jim. Bring back Andrew McCutchen. Look what happens.
Okay.
All right, Jim, on the outside looking in, because you and I aren't the biggest Steelers fans. It's, when you look at that locker room, think about the guys they've had in there recently. You've had TikTok Claypool, TikTok Schuster, and Knucklehead Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
They really haven't had that veteran leadership of someone that can kind of like be that guy to like they just said with McCutchen or with Santana or whatever, like kind of show them how to be a professional.
Isn't that what you have the coach for?
There's a difference.
Able to do it.
I think there's a bit of a difference, right? The coaches are there for that purpose, but as far as demonstrating how to be a professional day to day, like what the habits are of being a professional, to actually see that demonstrated is a little bit different.
You're saying
than
the coach doesn't
telling
demonstrate it every day.
A coach isn't the one that's there watching film. It's not the one in working out. It's not the one on the practice field actually going through the reps, right? A coach can yell at somebody because they're not doing what they're supposed to do, but they can't actually demonstrate it.
Okay. All right. Yinzer Logic brought to you by Yinzers.
You drive me nuts.
And this segment was brought to you by Harper & Co.
I do think the Steelers are getting a good deal on this because over 2/3 of the salary is being paid by another team.
Yeah, financially it makes sense.
So for that reason, I like it. And next in the NFL, before we get into a little bit of draft discussion, the gambling suspensions that happened this past week in the NFL. So for those that have not heard about this, seen this, or otherwise consumed this information, the NFL has suspended Detroit's Quentin Cephas and C.J. Moore, along with Washington's Shaka Toney, a PSU grad, Jim, just to throw it out there before you get there. Those three have been suspended indefinitely for at least a year. So definitely this year, but the timetable has not been set overall for betting on NFL games. Additionally, Detroit's Stanley Berryhill and Jameson Williams have been suspended 6 games for violating the NFL's betting policies. Williams and Berryhill bet on a college football game while in the Lions facility or
on a bus,
something
inside
team,
of an NFL
team
sanctioned thing.
sponsored,
I think they're like a training facility or something.
which would have been allowed if they were anywhere outside of a
Yes.
team sponsored or NFL sponsored facility. It's only because it happened within one of those areas that they get in trouble.
You can bet on college games outside of the NFL place.
Right. Cephas and Moore have already been released, and Tony is going to continue to be rostered by the Commanders, at least for the near future. So there was a lot of discussion, and I even heard on some other podcasts about this, that many were not even aware that it was an issue on betting on non-NFL games or on sports that were allowed to be bet on inside a facility, or at least what the extended version of definition of team facility or NHL or NFL facility meant. So I pulled some excerpts from the actual policy itself. But first, before we get to that, some initial reactions. Nate.
If they're betting on stuff that's not in their league, who cares?
Alex?
I agree with that. I also feel like with everything that's going on with sports betting, though, and like after watching Calvin Ridley go down, I think I would just play it safe and not bet at all.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, you would think.
I don't understand how any of this makes sense. I get not betting on NFL games, I guess. But like I don't understand how it's okay to suspend them for betting on college games when you have a team in Vegas that you can gamble in the facility.
When you say you can gamble in the facility, because you can place bets on site?
On February 21st, the NFL announced that some stadiums would be allowed to have betting lounges.
Yeah,
And may accept sponsorship from sportsbook operations.
Yeah, for the fans.
So it's okay for the NFL to profit on it, and stadiums to profit on it, and team ownership to profit on it.
It just looks bad.
Doesn't that look bad? Isn't it the same argument?
I don't
Alex,
think so at all. I don't think that me or you walking in and placing a bet on a game looks as bad as a player of the game walking in and placing a bet on the game.
Ownership being in league with gambling is okay. Players in league with gambling, not okay.
I agree, because the players that are actively playing have a chance to alter the outcomes of the games for their own pocketbooks.
So does ownership. We've seen that with them
the owners aren't walking in and gambling.
No, they're asking the coach to tank for a season.
The owners aren't the sports book.
Okay.
The owners are profiting from the sports book.
Okay.
That's fine, but they aren't the sports book.
Okay. First
so
off,
how do they know where the money is?
Let's get some of the policy here. because I think some of this goes back to the profiting versus being able to place a bet, right? I get what Jim's alluding to. You know, you've got the people holding the strings and can make some things happen. Betting on football, straight from the policy, all NFL personnel are prohibited from placing, soliciting, or facilitating any bet, whether directly or indirectly through a third party, on any NFL game, practice, or other event. This includes betting on all of the things, props, blah, blah, blah. Other betting on other sports, all NFL personnel, other than players, are further prohibited from placing, soliciting, or facilitating bets on any other professional or college, international, or Olympic sports competition, tournament, or event. So all NFL personnel, other than players, can't really bet on much of anything.
NFL personnel. That needs to be spelled out a little clearer for me.
I'm sure it's detailed within this policy. I do not know what all NFL personnel means. Gambling in the workplace, NFL personnel shall not engage in any form of gambling while in any club or league setting, including, without limitation, locker rooms, practice, or other facilities, team buses, trains, flights, or hotels, or while traveling on club or league business. For clarity, playing cards or other casino-type games is permitted as long as nothing of value is wagered, which is the most broad term ever. Like, what's of value to people that make tens of millions of dollars potentially? And permitted non-sports gambling, NFL personnel may visit and place non-sports wagers at legally operated casinos and horse or dog racing tracks on personal time, including during the season. So they can go ahead and play blackjack.
I still contend that they're okay with it being in their house, but just not okay if they play it.
It's a business, Jim. Didn't we just say that it's a business?
Let the players play and give them their money.
I think we're getting at different things in a different way. If you were okay with the players not being upset with other players because they're holding out or doing other things in order to get a better contract because it's a business, can the players not also have a similar attitude towards ownership of, if you solicit this business, bring this into the stadium, this then gives us more money, which then can elevate the salary cap, which means I can then bargain for more money. Is that not what this is all about? The more money you bring in the league, the more money I can make. Do what you got to do.
I see your point. I still think it's horseshit that they're not allowed to gamble on sports.
No, they can't.
It's just not on the NFL.
Professional sports. They can't.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
I really don't care that they were gambling on
I very
MLB
much
or
care if they're.
anything.
I don't care if they're gambling on the MLB so much. I very much care if a player that is play. If a Steeler is betting on a Steelers game.
Even if they're betting on themselves.
No, I think that they have an opportunity to change the outcome of the game for their own personal pocketbook.
It's the Pete Rose argument. I mean, that's all that is. Pete
I
Rose
don't
bet
have
on
a problem
baseball,
if-
bet on his own team.
If they want to bet on WVU game, fine. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I think it's a problem when you're betting on your own league.
I'm okay with it.
Nate, any other thoughts?
Yeah, as long as it's not your own league, I say let them do what they want.
All right. Which brings us into some NFL draft discussion. NFL draft taking place this week, with round 1 happening Thursday, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, and rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday. So, as a reminder, at least for the time being, the draft order, the top 10, the Panthers, the Texans, the Cardinals, the Colts, the Seahawks, the Lions, the Raiders, the Falcons, the Bears,
Oh my.
and the Eagles. What was that, Jim?
Oh my.
Oh, Falcons, Bears, Eagles, oh my.
I'm saying CJ Stroud goes to the Colts.
The Colts.
Yeah.
You don't think somebody do the Colts move up to 3?
No.
Get him?
They'll catch him at 4.
I disagree. I think he goes by pick 3.
No. If he doesn't drop.
Is Bryce Young number 1 then, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any dissent amongst the group that Bryce Young is not number 1?
No, I don't want
We're on.
Bryce Young is number 1. Yeah, he's the odds-on favorite. Everything's going with him. So, real quick, Jim, let's get into the CJ Stroud defamation that's been going on. It's a strong word, but I feel like that's some of what's been happening.
I think some of the bullshit they're saying about him is
Well,
that
what is all
Brady
the
Quinn is
bullshit?
saying
Okay.
Brady Quinn is saying that he ghosted the Mannings, so he doesn't really care about football. Then he got his IQ test or whatever the stats test is.
So he did not go to the Manning camp, right?
Yeah, last year he
withdrew.
quote ghosted them.
Ghosted them. Okay.
Yes.
So was slated to go but did not go, right? That's
Yeah.
what that was. And then Brady Quinn comes out, and that was his biggest thing, right? Is you have the opportunity to go learn from greatness, proven greatness, and you didn't even have the professional attitude to say, hey, I can't come. I'm not going to be coming for this reason. You just don't show up.
Right.
And then what is this new test? The S2 or the something 2?
Yeah.
It's an unproven test, right? This is the first year I've heard of it.
I'll say the same thing. I've only ever heard of the Wonderlic test.
Yeah, the Wonderlic is the standard. This is a new test that I guess assesses impulse control, some things that the Wonderlic does not do or isn't designed to do. It's obviously got enough clout that players are taking it, or teams are asking players to take it. And CJ Stroud reportedly has one of the lowest scores ever, at least the lowest of all the quarterbacks that have taken it this year.
And that's per that reporter from Green Bay. Like, there's news in Columbus, and CJ Stroud's coming out saying that that's not necessarily true. Like, they're saying he only got an 18. The highest score, I think, is like 98.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't think Ohio State has a lot of quarterbacks that are not the smartest quarterbacks. Ohio State has a history of bust quarterbacks. Yeah. Like, I am not saying CJ Stroud will knock down the house by any stretch of the imagination. And if they said that Bryce Young or Will Levis had this same scenario, he goes to the Manning and he got an 18, some reporter in Green Bay said this, I would still say, yeah, shut up. Like, I think all those quarterbacks are talented quarterbacks. I know it's an Ohio State thing. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care where CJ goes. Like, at this point, doesn't make a damn bit of difference to me.
He's going round one. I mean,
even then, like, I don't care. I don't care. I wasn't a big CJ Stroud fan anyway. I just think this is being way overblown to a kid that, like, that's not fair.
Right. So we'll see how this all pans out. Do we see anybody reaching of those top 10 for a pick? Who's the pick that we see being reached for the top in this top 10? Do we see somebody reaching for a running back? Does Bijan Robinson go?
That was going to be my pick.
I think whoever trades up to take the fourth quarterback is a reach.
Okay.
I think somebody will come up and snag a receiver that probably shouldn't have come up and grabbed a receiver.
And there's a lot of discussion this year that this is a very weak wide receiver class overall.
And I think somebody will try to chase the top one, whoever they've dubbed the top one. Right. That Quentin Johnson, I think he may go earlier than some people saw. I even think Jackson Smith and Jigba will come off the board a lot sooner than anybody thought he would. He didn't play half a damn season.
Right. So there's a lot there. Go ahead, Alex.
My two picks for who would go earlier than we think they would be Bijan Robinson or Anthony Richards.
Okay. Those are fair. A lot of people are saying this is a very solid tight end class. So we'll see. That's just not something you hear usually. You don't hear people talk about how this is a strong tight end class. You just don't hear that much. But real quick, top 5 at each of the skill positions, and then the other players of note. Obviously, top 5 in quarterback are Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richards, and Hendon Hooker. And those last 2 or 3 in each of these could be up for debate. At running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama, Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, Devin Akeen from Texas A&M, and Dwayne McBride from UAB. At wide receiver, Quentin Johnson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, and Josh Downs. Tight end class. I'm not going to name them because probably don't know half of them anyway. Other notable players that reach these top 10 draft boards are Will Anderson, edge rusher from Bama, Jalen Carter, obviously defensive lineman from Georgia, Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle from Northwestern, Christian Gonzalez, quarterback from Oregon, Tyree Wilson, edge rusher from Texas Tech, Devin Witherspoon, cornerback from Illinois, and Deontay Banks, cornerback from Maryland. So those are the players we would expect to see coming off the board in that first round.
So usually first round early picks, you see a lot of teams taking like O linemen, and I haven't heard about a bunch of O linemen this year like you have in years past.
That's Skoronski, right? He's the only one that they're projecting top 10 right now, I think.
Which is so weird you guys say that. I'm going to get smoked again. So Alex, start rolling them damn eyes of yours. But they have not Seattle. They have the Raiders taking Paris Johnson from Ohio State at offensive tackle. And this one I just pulled up. And I was like, that don't make any sense.
Right. And that's where a lot of this, you can never be sure until you get to draft day, like what people see in those different players in those different positions. It's always interesting.
And then they have him going 9th to the Bears.
No. There we go.
Add another one. That's just. And
We'll
both of these, like I've seen 3 mock drafts now as we're talking,
Mhm.
and they have him going 7, 8, or 9
Well,
as the first offensive
as the first off the board,
line guy off the board.
he's a tackle, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's always debate, especially in offensive and usually not so much in defensive linemen, but offensive linemen, you always have like this core 3 or 4, and there's usually not a consensus number 1.
Yeah.
There's usually, hey, we can pick any of these and we'll be okay, or at least we think we'll be okay.
Ready to fast forward to next year's draft.
Are you?
Good talent for next year.
Good draft class.
Good draft class.
Any other thoughts on the NFL draft coming up this week? Here's a question. Who's going to watch any of this?
I'll watch some of the first round.
Yeah, me too.
I might watch like the first dozen picks or so.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to watch the NFL coverage on ESPN, or are you going to watch the Pat McAfee live stream?
Oh,
I think last year, or if not last year, year before, I think I had McAfee up periodically on my phone, and then I think I've actually had the actual draft up. Because sometimes McAfee can go off on a completely different tangent.
Right, I agree. That's why I think like the first like 5 to 10 picks may be interesting to listen to McAfee, and then after that, because at that point they probably don't even know who half the players are. It's not like they're Mel
Because
Kiper.
wasn't it them 2 years ago that basically they all had Trey Lance going 3 before anybody else really had it?
Yeah.
So, like you said, that might be interesting to see if they have a inside scoop there about that, like they did a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think I'll watch McAfee for the first 5 or 10, and then if I watch any more after that, I'll probably just watch the regular broadcast, just because there's going to be more of a breakdown of those players than you're going to get from McAfee.
Yeah.
it also depends on the hockey schedule for me. Like if there was a hockey game the night before, I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah.
Why you shake your head, Alex? I'm about to come to Bethany and whoop that ass.
I don't think I even shook my head at you this time.
I'm saying a live hockey update. The Stars just beat the Wild 3-2.
Series now tied 2-2.
Should be 2-1 or 1-2.
I think it's 2-2. Alex's game.
Really? Oh yeah. Yeah, because the Kraken play on the
2-2.
night 3. I got you.
2-2. Stars and Wild tied up.
And then Oilers and Kings about to face off.
About to drop the puck. Going out of the NFL and into the NBA, where this league has returned just in time for the playoffs. Draymond Green suspended for a game last week for stomping on Kings Domantas Sabonis after he and Sabonis fell to the ground, or I guess Sabonis just fell to the ground in the paint. Sabonis appeared to wrap his arm around Green's foot or lower leg, to which Green tried to get away and ends up stomping on Sabonis. First question. Was this worthy of a foul in the game?
Foul?
From either side. Either side. Sabonis or Green. Should Sabonis have been whistled for a foul?
I think they both should have gotten a foul.
Nate.
Yeah, for me, not knowing anything about basketball, yeah, should have been a foul both ways, and Green should have got the second.
Jim.
I didn't see him wrap the arm as much as I saw Green do the stomp. So
Okay. For my opinion, I think the wrapping of the arm was more of an incidental, like I'm falling to the ground, I'm reaching or whatever. It's just it's incidental contact to me. It just so happened that it was wrapping around his leg a little bit. So, but I still think in the end you're impeding progress. You probably both get some type of foul.
See, I feel like I'm usually someone who would have gone the other way, but I think that the arm wrap was a little more intentional.
Okay. Well, and that's
And usually I feel like I lean the other way.
Is what I think.
okay. Do we think that within the game, Green should have been whistled for more than just a common foul?
No.
For the stomp?
Yes, the stomp.
That stomp looked legit. Like he was trying.
Alex says no.
No, you've got to call that. If you don't have anything there other than a common foul for that stomp, you're in for a long night.
Maybe a flagrant one then. I don't know how they break it down, but maybe the one where you get a technical, but you're not kicked out for like 8 games or whatever. Stupid. I think it was only 1, but
Well,
Big
that
time.
happened after the game, the suspension.
Well,
so,
the thing is too is Draymond's got a history.
and this has come up as well, is the suspension fair based on this act alone?
I think that's where I'm getting with all of this. I guess I see your point. It should have probably been a flagrant foul on the court, but I don't know if the suspension because of the leg grabbing and in that moment you're in a competitive thing, you feel someone grabbing your leg, you don't know what happened behind you, you're just pissed off.
But no, the intent was there. It's kind of like when Ndamukong Suh stepped on Rogers' ankle or whatever. I mean, he intentionally stepped foot straight into the chest.
But he thought he was holding on to his leg.
Right, so you can just flail to kick yourself out. You don't go and stomp on the guy.
Okay. Jim, do you think the suspension is fair with this incident alone?
Yes, with the incident alone.
Okay.
They're soft.
Well, here, Alex, I'll put it, since we're a little bit of a wrestling show, as far as like college wrestling, if you see a guy trying to get an escape and he can't get his leg out and he says, screw it, I'm just going to stomp on my opponent.
Yeah.
That's a straight up rule in wrestling where that's not allowed.
I didn't know that was
no one said you weren't allowed to stomp people in basketball.
Apparently in Alex's basketball, you can stomp the
I want to look at the handbook and see where it says no stomping.
Please do.
If you can find me in the NBA handbook where it says no stomping.
It's not a basketball play, Alex. I think we can get on board with that, right?
Dumbest shit you've ever done.
Is this Draymond's history getting the better of him for the suspension? Is this what this is leading up to?
I think if it's an average Joe, they get a suspension for that.
Okay, Alex.
I think for Draymond's sake, he's lucky he only got a game.
Okay, Alex.
I don't know.
Jim. Jim has silenced Alex in this conversation. They both like the two that come at it the most here is like, oh, I don't know. I have an opinion, but I don't know about that. I think this is his opinion, his history getting the better of him. I think if this was Steph Curry who did this or LeBron James who did this, they would not be suspended.
I disagree.
It wouldn't have even been a freaking foul if LeBron James did it.
Oh my god. How is that rocking chair? Is it nice? You got a cushion for your butt? You got nice coverage on the porch?
I do. It's right there.
I even got the nice porch rocker Samuel Adams in the fridge for that.
Good. That's a great gear.
Oh, goodness. Okay. We'll move out of that. And speaking of LeBron James, Dillon Brooks found himself ejected on Saturday night after a hit to the groin of LeBron James. Brooks is not going to be suspended, but this was kind of funny because he's been dogging James pretty hard, saying earlier this week, and I quote, "I don't care. He's old. I poke bears. I don't respect someone until he gives me 40. End quote.
So is this guy related to Kayvon Thibodeau by chance?
To my knowledge, Nate. So, Jim, you saw this. Dillon Brooks.
It was an intentional nut shot. James Harden did the same thing.
Okay.
I don't know. Never mind. I'm not even commenting. I'll just let Jim have his time.
Go ahead, Jim. Talk about this in relation to the James Harden one, which I did not include as part of our discussion, but thank you for bringing that up.
They both took a shot at the guy's dick. I don't understand how this is like up for debate. Where does Alex have a viewpoint here? Are you saying that it didn't happen?
Alex?
I feel like we've had this conversation before, and when I was like talked about a deliberate ball tag, you were like, I don't think he really meant to hit him in the nuts.
Do you think that he didn't really meant to hit him in the nuts there?
I don't know. They don't seem like nut hitters to me. They seem like face stompers before they seem like nut hitters.
So James Harden got ejected.
James Harden, I could see kicking someone in the nuts, but the rest of it, I don't think.
It was a flick, man. He was aiming.
Ball flick.
Okay. So Dillon Brooks gets ejected. I believe he got ejected in that game. No suspension. But the Lakers go on to win, which is its own thing. But Dillon Brooks put himself right into the mixer, and the mixer is tossing him right back out. So we will see where this continues. He did have no comment after that game, though. He had comments up until this happened.
He probably knew he was already in trouble and didn't want to dig the hole.
That's about right. The NBA this postseason has had a fair number of injuries to some key persons on different teams. Just a real quick, the Grizzlies, John Morant and Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Bucks have suffered injuries that kept them out of action in their team's first round matchups. The Clippers, Paul George is out for the entire first round matchup. Kawhi Leonard missed Saturday's game. The Heat's Tyler Hero broke his finger and is likely to miss the rest of the playoffs. In addition to the Heat's Victor Oladipo suffering a season-ending injury over the weekend, and 76ers Joel Embiid missed Saturday's game, which did not matter because the 76ers advanced anyway. Quick rundown of the NBA playoffs. 76ers sweep the Nets 4-0. The Suns are up 3-1 on the Clippers. The Heat are up 2-1 on the Bucks, which is an 8-1 matchup, which would be a huge upset. The Lakers are up 2-1 over the Grizzlies. The Knicks are up 3-1 over the Cavs. The Kings and Warriors are tied at 2 games each after a Warriors win on Sunday. The Celtics are up 2-1, going to a game happening right now. An update on the Celtics. And the Nuggets are up 3-0, playing as well on Sunday night.
Celtics are up 111 and 104.
So they're about to win, I'm assuming.
3 minutes
still
and 37 seconds.
There's still a lot of time left.
Okay. How about the Nuggets? Is that game started yet?
No.
All right. So, any other news from the NBA for discussion today?
None of those guys can make it a minute in hockey.
No.
True.
Well, Oladipo, I think, tore actual ligaments, so I don't know if he'd been able to play anyway.
Yeah, you've seen hockey players play without ACLs before, so what?
And
I don't think that
with 75 stitches in their face.
I don't think the knee ligaments tears translates to the basketball court the same way it translates on the hockey
Wait,
ice. Just saying.
wait,
Like
what are we
hockey
saying?
season.
I'm saying I think it's probably going to be a little bit easier to play hockey with some certain torn ligaments than it would be to play basketball, Jim. There's jumping.
You know what? I defer to Alex, the medical degenerate, on this.
I think an MCL would be impossible, right, Alex?
I think any sport would have its pros and cons. Like there are going to be things in hockey that like you could play through that you couldn't play through in basketball, and there are things in basketball you could play through that you couldn't play through in hockey. Anyone who can play through torn ligaments is a badass, but I know what Muff's saying. There's less jumping and like happening.
But
in
don't you have
hockey.
to push off harder?
Yeah, but pushing off
Pace and
uses a different.
stop.
Yeah, but everything uses different biomechanics. I'm saying that it would be hard either way, but there are things that would be harder to play basketball with, and there are things that would be harder to play hockey with.
So it's a draw.
Yeah, it depends on what's hurt.
Okay.
Speaking
I
of
feel like
people,
it's fair.
it is fair. I mean, that's what I was getting at. I think there are injuries in different sports that impact you differently.
I heard Muff say hockey players were soft and he wanted to fight one.
That's what I heard too.
Glad we were on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
About time.
First thing we agree on.
Let's go dollar dogs and beer night at Nailers, Alex, and let's find me somebody, huh?
I will spend
Here, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Muff wants to fight a nailer. Put that out in the ether.
Bring Bisonet out of retirement. Let's do it. I would get crushed. Other interesting news in other sports. In baseball, Mets pitcher Max Scherzer has been suspended, although he appealed, 10 games and given an undisclosed fine after violating the foreign substance rule last week. Scherzer stays consistent with his story, saying he didn't have anything on him that was illegal, saying it was sweat and rosin. He has obviously appealed and will be able to continue to play pending this decision. I don't think there was a decision that came down today, correct?
No, I believe he actually rescinded his appeal because I thought they said, or he had said, that it would have been MLB appointed arbitrator, would not have been a neutral arbitrator.
Okay, because that's fair.
Yeah,
of
baseball.
note is that Scherzer is the third player to be suspended for violating this rule, and umpire Phil Cousy, is it Cousy? Cousy has been the person to perform all 3 checks that have led to these suspensions.
So has he got like the magic touch?
Hampering.
Or he's the only one that's willing to go out on a limb and do it.
Gotcha.
I'm
you
not
watch.
sure.
I say now you watch. He'll get that postseason bid.
Ooh, you're right. He'll be the one. I think it's just really weird that after all that has come of this illegal substance, foreign substance, that there's only one umpire that's actually acted on this.
Right, which makes you wonder. It's like, is anybody else just really checking? And then like there was one was earlier in the week. It was a pitcher for the Yankees was getting checked, and they told him to go get a new glove, whatever. And he came back out, and they talked to him. They talked to Aaron Boone, the skipper for the Yankees, and then they let him stay in the game. And then here comes out the coach for, I think it was the Twins, and goes, "Well, what are you guys doing? Like, you checked him, and you're saying, oh, well, yeah, you've got some stuff in your glove. Just go get a different glove." That's not the way the rule's written. So, of course, the guy for the Twins gets all fed up, and he gets tossed.
Ooh.
But I'm with them. It's like, if you find anything, it's like, that's what the rule states. It's like, if you have any reasonable doubt, get rid of them.
Right. And if at this point, this umpire is the guy that does it.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you even give him the potential
Mm-hmm.
to find something? Now, Scherzer's saying it's sweat and rosin, but I mean, I understand that if he's going to rescind his appeal because it's an MLB appointed arbitrator, like, and he's just like, well, this is just dumb. Why am I even going to go through this? Just give me my 10 games on this 2 starts and we'll be good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This just seemed, because he was adamant at the game. He'd been adamant since that it was sweat and rosin.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what else. And this is what's weird about baseball is they don't really come out and say what they found. Right? It's an illegal or foreign substance. That's all they're
right.
going to say.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to talk about what exactly that substance was. Nobody needs to know that, but it was gross.
Right. It was sticky and it was more than just sweat and rosin. That's all they can really probably say, right?
Take that for what you will.
There's something about Max. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, now then, I went back and watched it because someone had brought it up. And before he got in all this hot water, Trevor Bauer actually had a series like on YouTube, like during the season. And that was one of the things when they first came out with this. He goes, I can show you that just a little bit of water, sweat, rosin makes it sticky. And he showed it like he was warming up for a game and he poured a little bit of water on his hands, got his hands wet, and then he got the rosin bag, put it on his hands, and then rubbed his hands through his hair after he started sweating. And there was a noticeable difference there. Like he would just hold the hand up like that, and the ball would hold it for a second and then would fall off of his hand. So, yeah, sweat and rosin can do it. Both are legal. So if that's what Scherzer had, I mean, it is what it is.
It's what it is. Jim, does this make Max Scherzer a cheating bastard?
Yeah.
What if they proved that it was just?
Aren't they all cheating?
It's only
to
cheating
some
if you get
degree?
caught.
Right. If he gets caught, he's cheating.
So if they got caught breaking a rule, does that make all of the NFL players cheaters as well?
If they got caught betting on another team that's not their own, like if they got caught betting and they're rigging the game, yeah, that's cheating.
Okay. All right. Any other topics for today's episode? Jim found
I got
something.
one.
Oh God, here we go. I don't even know what's going to
So
happen.
remember last week I was talking about the High State spring game, and then how that night their new offensive coordinator and recruiting guru Brian Hartline wrecked his ATV. And I just happened to be clicking through, and I see that alcohol was to blame.
I don't know if this is something to laugh about, but
alcohol was to blame.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm laughing is, according to initial reports released by Delaware County Sheriff's Office, deputies also reported a strong odor of alcoholic beverage in Hartline's hospital room when attempting to interview him at Riverside Methodist Hospital. Hartline could not be interviewed because he was unconscious due to the medication he had been administered at the hospital.
So he came in a drunken asshole and bought himself a tube down his throat. That's exactly what happened.
Even after he wrecked?
As someone who has responded to those incidents in the middle of the night, if you can't examine someone because they are so drunk that they are being belligerent, you sedate them and intubate them. And when they are cleared, you extubate them and say, go home, or you have injuries and here's what they are. We need to treat them. Yes, you have a right to do that. If you are being so belligerent that we can't evaluate your injuries, then yeah, you tube them.
His room smelled of alcohol. How much alcohol do you have to have?
You'd be surprised. I mean, there are guys that come in that probably drink a 12-pack or whatever, and I mean,
And he was the one driving.
well, that's
with,
not good.
with a friend in the vehicle. Can Ohio State just stay out of the shit? Just one season. One season.
Obviously not.
Half the shit that you guys throw at them, they earned it.
I intentionally left this out of any notes, Jim, because I was like, I don't want to bag on this one. Like, this is in the off season. It's a spring game.
I don't know. Forget that. This man is like the recruiter for Ohio State. He gets all kinds of notoriety. You're going to see receivers going to the NFL this week, and he's going to get all kinds of glory. And he was drunk flipping an ATV
after the spring game.
After the spring game.
He was celebrating the Ohio State won.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, if anybody has the chance to watch some highlights from today's Talladega race at NASCAR, watch the T-bone that happened to number 5 car who we hate. I shouldn't say we hate. We talk about him often. Kyle Busch won. What's his name? Muff. The guy who said the bad word.
No,
Kyle Larson.
Oh,
I keep his name out of my mouth, Jim.
That's good. He got T-boned real bad. Probably the worst T-bone I've seen in a long time in NASCAR. Hit so hard that the roll cage bent inwards.
Oh, wow. That's pretty intense.
And the guy who hit him, they showed an in-car footage of his head. Like, he's driving. He's like, oh, there's a car in front of me. I got a T-bone. And his head hit back so hard that I thought his helmet was going to fly off. I'm pretty sure if it wasn't strapped in, it would have flown off.
One time when I was little, I was playing bumper cars with my uncle, and we were going head to head, coming across. I'm coming from one end of the bumper car, and he's coming the other. And my mom she has a perfect picture of it. Like, we're coming in, she's like, oh, they're both in the frame. And, like, take the picture. Shortly thereafter, my uncle, who's like, in his late 20s, and I'm in my like single digits, just plows into my front of my bumper car. And I did the same thing. My head whipped forward and back so hard, boom.
Yeah.
My mom, for sure. She was like, I was shocked you were conscious. And that was bumper cars.
These guys, I thought that guy was dunzo. You could see his eyeballs too, like, because he's got the front shield down, so it's all black. He hits, shield flies up, and you can see his eyes. For those of you on YouTube, were like as big as $50. He was like, you could see he saw God. Like, he was like, oh God. It was epic. And that's the sports news from Jim.
Is NASCAR still rigged, Jim?
Oh, most definitely.
Speaking of racing, shout out to my little cousin. He beat his mile PR this week.
Oh, good for him.
He ran it in 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Like, I don't think I could drive a mile in 4 minutes, 36 seconds, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, yeah, I know I could. That was a joke.
What is the motivation
For running?
Yes.
Him?
Yes.
He's an athlete. He runs on the track team.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Okay.
He's a junior in high school.
Okay. Well, this is very impressive, right? You're somebody not necessarily known as a runner. Myself, I think really anybody here is known for their quickness in running a mile.
No.
In this whole situation.
I think that's why the 4 minutes and 36 seconds seems so impressive. I tried to run one; it was like 10 minutes. Plus, it was 10 seconds off his PR.
I failed the mile time I ran it in middle school.
You failed it?
Yeah, like you got a grade, and if you failed it, you go back during homeroom to rerun it. And I was always rerunning it during homeroom.
Did you finish the mile?
Nope.
You just kind of threw a fit and quit.
I think they just gave up at some point.
I will. Here we go. We'll do an over under, not an over under. The fastest mile time. I'm not going to ask any of you to do this. The fastest mile time I ever ran in my entire life. I will say this: I was a sophomore in high school when I did this.
Are we saying over or under? Or
no, you have to. I'll ask Nate to toss out a time, and then you two have to go over or under that time.
Okay. So I'm trying to think, because I know, Muff, did you ever run track at all in your lifetime?
I 1 year was on the track team as a thrower.
So no, you did not run track.
I never ran events in track. I will say that I was asked to run events, but I never ran them.
What events were you asked to run?
1 mile, 2 mile, and the whatever the 1 lap relay is. Like everybody runs a lap, 4x4. Yeah.
So okay, so we'll go out and even. We'll say 12 minutes.
Fastest mile.
Yeah,
12
ever in my
minutes?
life.
Under.
I feel like you have to have a better option there, Nate.
Okay, we'll go down. Let's say, well, what was your PR for your cousin or your Alex?
He was 436.
436 for a guy that runs every day.
Yes.
So okay, so let's double that and say round up. We'll go to 9 minutes.
Okay.
Under.
Alex?
Under. I was gonna say 7:45.
Okay. If I were to, I'm going to toss out a number. 7 minutes over under.
Over.
Oh, over.
Okay. My best mile time ever was 6 minutes, 10 seconds.
Wow.
Holy shit.
I know when you and I were working out and like in my best shape, I ran a mile. I ran the 5Ks with you at like 8:35, 8:45. And we were pretty close, neck and neck. We were in good shape in those days.
This was
so like I could see you doing that. That makes sense.
Much younger in life.
Right.
On his 11th birthday, he eclipsed the 6-minute mile.
On Muff?
No. I never run faster than 6 anything.
On his 11th birthday.
Hey, while I'm sitting here and we're talking, Nate Diaz choked a guy out in a street fight.
Yeah, it was Logan Paul.
That was Logan Paul lookalike.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Like an impersonator? Is this like
no, it was like
out
a
on the
guy
streets?
who acted like Logan Paul. He has a YouTube thing, I think. But he got knocked out.
He got choked out.
Choked out. Go sleepy sleep.
Right. How was this like a very quick done? Or was this like a struggle?
Yeah, it was a quick guillotine, go to sleep.
Okay.
So that happened.
That did happen. Anything else of note?
No, I think we're
Well,
good.
I think that's it.
All right.
I participated in a new sport this week.
Yeah, what was that?
Pole dancing.
And that wraps up another episode of Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff with their homies who have learned to participate in new sports. We encourage you to try new sports in your life, whether they be on a pole or off a pole. Remember to follow us at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, sportstuffw.com/Jim Ampersand Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, poke, tickle.
Get the bell on.
Get that bell on. Make sure you subscribe so you can see all the new things that are coming out. We're into the shorts world now on YouTube.
Not the kind of pants. Short videos.
Help this rocket ship continue to go to the moon, to the stars, or wherever Sam and Nate are going on their next vacation. And to do that, you have to tell a friend, make a friend, be a friend.